4 players should make a great difference to the Kiwis' chances in this Test match. Let's now go live to Brisbane to our commentators Tony Palmer and former Kiwi great Des White.
Good evening and welcome to Lang Park in Brisbane, where we've just heard a couple of verses of a song explaining Australia's invincibility, and they've just launched into Waltzing Matilda. Spirits are very high here at Lang Park, but I think the Australians who've been offering odds of something like 15 points into Australia may be in for something of a small surprise. Des White, my co-commentator tonight, what are you cooking?
Well, the Australians coming out on the field, they rate this their best side for some time, but having had a look at the Kiwis' run, they only had a light run this morning. They were very, very confident indeed. In fact, the quotes here, certainly, as you said, 15 points given in if you want to take Australia. It's a very important game for the Kiwis. They're about their strongest that they have been, except for the Sorensens that aren't here. And I say that going right back to about 1971, when the New Zealanders did beat Australia 24-3 at Carlisle Park. But it's going to be a very tough opening 10 minutes. I had the feeling from the boys that it could be on up front in that opening 10 minutes. As out comes Mark Graham to lead the Kiwis. Olsen Philippani, you can see James Luluwai and Dan O'Hara, the stars, Fred Akoi and Gordon Smith. But one would say that the New Zealanders are very, very confident indeed of really putting up a great deal of pressure on the Australian side. Now for the teams.
An interesting point there, Des, just looking at the teams. New Zealand playing Gary Campbell at fullback, Gary Proman, Dan O'Hara on the wings, Olsen Philippine, James Luluwai in the centres, Fred Akoi at standoff, Gordon Smith at halfback. And you'll notice that the numbers are the other way round, because Australia is the host country. We'll be numbering the forward pack the Australian way round, which puts Mark Graham at 8 instead of 13. The second row, 9 and 10. Bruce Gall and Graham West, Kevin Tamati at 11 in the front row, Howie Tamati hooking at 12, Mark Broadhurst 13. Looking at the Australian side, Greg Brentnell at fullback, John Rebo and Kerry Bowstead the wings, Mike Cronin and Steve Rogers, the well-proven centre combination, Wally Lewis, the new star Brisbane player at standoff, Steve Mortimer the halfback, Paul Vorton is in to replacing Price. On the back of the scrum, Les Boyd and Rowan Hancock in the second row, Rod Morris, Max Krilich and Craig Young the front row. Kevin Tamati at the moment leading the haka. And Des, it was interesting too, looking at the tactics that Des Mountford is going to play tonight. The centre combinations will be played in a different way to what they normally are in a Test match.
Yes, they certainly will. That'll be when you're seeing it from loose play there, that's when New Zealand has possession. James Luluwai is going to veer out and become outside centre. Olsen Philippano is going to see Fred Akoi coming round him, and they're trying to make James Luluwai be the run-off player. So there's a slight variation in New Zealand's loose play tonight on the attack.
The referee is Fred Lindop from England. The touch judges, Dee Manson, E. Ward, both from Queensland. National anthems. And a very patriotic Australian crowd here too tonight. There's lots of Australian flags being waved. A lot of very confident Australians. As we said before, the betting odds giving something like 15 points in, which seems to be a ridiculous margin. And the Kiwis have been very low-key all week about this match.
Yes, I think first mount from the New Zealand national anthem now.
They haven't heard in Australia yet that the New Zealand national anthem is God Defend New Zealand, not God Save the Queen. Of little note, this New Zealand side really keyed up for this match. Australia with a kick-off. It's going to be hard tackling straight away.
I don't think so. The boys indicated it was going to be on right from the start, and I imagine it is really going to be on too. We've had a few explosions and scrum tests that have started. The very first one that goes down, and Aussie, obviously their forwards want to get into the New Zealand front row. It's pretty a tough one in there. Kevin Tamati and Mark Broadhurst, a pretty good fighter, so this could be a pretty good test.
Gary Campbell puts the ball up the line, and they made good ground from it. Australia coming back. Brentnall running in, Bowstead. Bowstead's got nowhere to go. Broadhurst the tackler.
Well, it's very obvious here that Mr. Lindop, like he was in the second test in England, and New Zealand won, he's going to blow this game up and make sure everyone retires 5 metres.
So Greg Brentnall, Canterbury Bankstown, with a good line kick. Man who's very, very safe under a high ball, and a good line kicker as well. So Australia wanting to get into it quickly. Very hard tackling indeed from Kevin Tamati. Wasn't the safest tackle in the world, but it was effective. New Zealand get possession as a result. They're looking to run it. Bruce Gall's hands letting him down.
And that man hasn't moved, Tony. Rowan Hancock has not moved. And as indicated, it's always in a test game like this. You can go back to some of these great matches we've seen there. Some of the New Zealanders that have been involved.
It was Kevin Tamati straight up with his shoulder and bowling him over. They said they were going to get right up on them and tackle very, very hard right from the start. It's the way the Kiwis can get into the match. Howie Tamati, Broadhurst coming through, and there's a little bit of aggro on there already. Paul Borton it was. Having a look at Kevin Tamati.
Well, it's a testing time here, and Lindop as a referee is a very strong one, and no doubt gradually it'll settle down. I give it 10 minutes here, and there'll be a few punches thrown. They'll sort each other out. They're both tough packs, and New Zealand want to control it up front.
So already New Zealand getting up on Australia, giving them nothing. Greg Brentnall for the line. That's made him a good 15, 16 metres. For Australia now. Rowan Hancock has gone off, I think. Can't quite see him in the picture, but I think Rowan Hancock has gone off. Check that for you in a moment. Coming back already, the Kiwis up there tackling hard, and the Australians don't like it at all.
Well, there was Craig Young then, and if you can see number 13, you might recall often is there what happened to him at Carlisle Park when he was laid out. So Rowan Hancock, I'm sure, came staggering back after receiving quite a bit of medical attention, but the referee is having a talk at the moment to the New Zealand captain, who's naturally been called up, and of course you can see the shape up. That's Craig Young, 13, and obviously the fullback now will kick the touch.
And the man having the shape up there with him, Bruce Gall, playing his first test for New Zealand. A man that they're expecting to become a star in Australia. Very, very strong, hard player. Max Krilich fires it round again, a double round. Les Boyd. Boyd puts it back. Up there, Steve Rogers again getting into the game. And Mike Cronin, but they're tackling hard, the Kiwis. Really is hard tackling from the Kiwis already, and they're going to need it. Right up now, 10 metres out from the Kiwi line. The Australians spinning it wide. Coming in, Brentnall loses the ball, and the Kiwis have possession as a result. Kevin Tamati it was up there to get it quickly, capitalise on the little mistake. So let's see what the Kiwis can do with their 6 tackles. The Australians have looked like they want to throw it round. Kevin Tamati. So the Australians replying with similar tactics. Good hard tackling. Gary Probe.
There's a penalty given against Australian because Howie Tamati waiting to take that one out. And the short one's still going in. I thought just about 10 minutes now. We've got about just over 5 minutes gone. Not much football with that line kick by Elsons, which didn't gain much ground. But it looks like he's going to take the kicks, Olsen Philippine, and New Zealand still inside their own half.
Yes, the kicks were going to be split between Gordon Smith and Olsen Philippine. Philippine, it looks like he's going to take the line kicks, possibly Gordon Smith with the goal kicks. Mark Broadhurst, Howie Tamati, little fumble there. A lot of pressure on both sides. So the first scrum of the game.
Well, that's straight away for incorrect packaging going down. The Australians not wanting to pack down properly, and here's Gordon Smith just looking straight ahead as they're going to call Olsen. I think Smith will take the first lots of shots at gold. He was the one that was doing quite a bit of practicing. Filipino not noted for his depth. He's really only gaining a few metres, Tony, and that's not good for New Zealand. They're still short of the halfway.
Kevin Tamati. Howie Tamati picking it up, tidying it up. Mark Broadhurst. New Zealand holding on to possession a little better than they did against Queensland. Gordon Smith.
Again, it's a 5-metre one, and he's catching him way out. The Lindop at the moment is wanting to assume control, so he's prepared to blow everyone up. We've so far had 6 penalties in the game and only about 6 minutes gone.
That's made a bit better yardage for Olsen Filipina. Made them 15 yards. Graham West going in hard. West and Gore form a good combination in the second row. Been running off each other very well. Kevin Tamati. Upended. Howie Tamati. Putting it out. Mark Graham. Putting in Graham West. Spinning it out wide this time. Looking like they might be able to run it somewhere. Olsen Filipina gets the pass away. Gary Campbell in there. Gary Prome waiting. Prome's going to run it himself. Runs straight into a hard tackle there from Craig Young. Nice little double round. Olsen Filipina running off Fred Arcoy very well. That's something they're going to look to do today too.
Well, that was Rohan Hancock, the man that really got knocked out. He's got to his feet again, but doubling back, and Filipina, he's 15 stone 2 for New Zealanders. That's how heavy Olsen's got now, and showing how he used his hips so well then to break that particular tackle.
Something they're going to use there too is a lot of that doubling round move using Olsen and Fred. The tactics as explained to us today by Seth Mounts, the coach. He's taken a very low-key approach to the game. This is Mark Graham. Graham looking like he's got the potential to get away from the tacklers. Very highly regarded player in Sydney now. Olsen, Kevin Tamati. Broadhurst. Gall. Bruce Gall running it up hard. Gordon Smith.
Well, he's caught them wide out here too. Steve Rogers has caught well offside and within the range of Gordon Smith. And Australia really, while you don't quite see it on the screen, are really hugging the marginal line of offside play from set scrums. And New Zealand likewise. The result is there's little back play now. Obviously, both sides are going to have to use their halves to run and their loose forwards to do a lot of the donkey work now. And wide out, you see the outside centres hugging that line and gradually creeping up. And Lindop is letting it go, and suddenly he picks them up and... that's it. So both sides have had their opening, little feelings of each other. They've settled down now a little bit, I think. But I think it's going to be tight very, very hard, and not too much back play for the opening quarter.
It's well within Smith's kicking range if he's on his day. Right on the 22-metre line and not too far away, 10 metres away on the angle. First points on the board for New Zealand. New Zealand 2, Australia 0. And that's exactly what they'll need for confidence. Gordon Smith putting first points on the board for New Zealand. And let's hope he's on form tonight.
Well, that's just about Smith's range there. The breeze is blowing slightly into us here from our television position, and that's just about his limit, about 32 metres.
Kick-off fairly short. Kevin Tamati picking it up. Howie Tamati. Graham to Broadhurst. Broadhurst well held. Spinning it again. New Zealand making good use of the 6 tackles. Far better use than they made against Queensland. Fred Arcoy with a little fumble there. That might cost them. Les Boyd gets it out. Going loose. So New Zealand regaining it again by a little bit of luck. Les Boyd was up there very quickly with a hard tackle. The ball went forward, but Howie Tamati managed to get it again. Kevin Tamati. Just spin it a bit more. Olsen Filipina. Broadhurst. Spinning it out again. Mark Graham. Fred Arcoy trying to look for a little place through there, but he was well covered. Rod Morris and Max Krivich had him. Howie Tamati. Certainly when they have spun the ball, Des, the New Zealand side have looked quite confident.
Yes, there's an idea of how much progress they made. About 10 metres, that's how tight the fence is. New Zealand working hard, stuck inside their own 22 and used the sixth tackle and only gained that limited amount of metres.
There's a ball, but the referee, Mr. Fred Lindoff, has said that Gordon Smith fed the scrum incorrectly. Greg Brednall puts the line kick up, and that's a fairly conservative one. It's made him a good 10, 15 metres. Morris taking the first pass. Well held by Kevin Tamati. See how much the Australians are going to throw it round. Kiwis defence holding quite well. Cronin putting Steve Rogers in. And picking it up was James Lulaway. Could have been a very dangerous move.
That was indeed a lucky break for New Zealand. Olsen Filipina really let him go.
That said, the combination of Mike Cronin and Steve Rogers is where the danger lies. A well-proven test combination that's had some criticism from the press here, but nevertheless a very classy one indeed, and is showing us there what potential danger there is, unless the Kiwis get up on them and knock them over. Kevin Tamati running away from one tackle. Howie Tamati. Little dummy and Mark Graham coming in.
Well, a bit of a question mark here, Tony. This Australian side, a very, very experienced one, and some of these older players now, there was Cronin, as I say. New Zealand and Filipina letting him through, and he didn't quite control the pass. New Zealand was split then too. Their second line of cover was broken, and it should have been an Australian try, but luck's with the Kiwis at the moment.
Very lucky indeed that
now New Zealand
didn't pick it up.
New Zealand dropped the loose arm, so they're penalised for that one.
It's almost kickable from there.
And the differential.
But being a scrum penalty, they can't, of course, have a shot at goal. One thing they can't afford to do is allow penalties within Mick Cronin's kicking range. Brednall puts it up right on the corner. That's a good kick. So Australia right up on attack now. 10 metres out from the New Zealand line. Rod Morris trying to go through. Krivich waiting. Craig Young. Australia right up on the Kiwis line now. Outside is the defence. Nice little attempt at stealing the ball off Steve Mortimer. It was Mark Broadhurst that got up there very quickly indeed. That's Boyd. Pushed back. Paul Thornton. Red-haired replacement for Les Price, playing on the back of the scrum, trying to go through himself, and again the Kiwis up there trying to steal it. Australia have got the penalty.
Well, they conceded it really. The Australian line was well and truly spread out. The fullback there was going to come flying in as well in the back line, and New Zealand were really ready to dive on that. They were prepared, I think, to concede the penalty and see if Mick Cronin, who is really probably one of the problem players there that New Zealand must face today. His rate of percentage is so marvellous. It's something like 80%, where the average international kicker today gives about 60. Cronin is the all-time great, I would say, at the moment for goal kickers, and that would include, I think, rugby too. He's got a fantastic record at accuracy. He's a big-time match player, getting on in years now, Mick, but a tremendous centre for Australia over the years. So casual, yet so natural and so balanced in his style.
So Australia's Mike Cronin looking to even the scores with a relatively simple kick for him. And it's there. One flag up, one flagging it away. Are they going to give it or not?
says the referee. No.
So no points for Australia.
We're lucky, Tony.
One flag up and one down. The Luck's running with the Kiwis tonight. Mike Cronin, the man who holds 3 world records for point scoring, unsuccessful on that occasion. Greg Brentnall. Paul Vaughton, eager to get into the game early on. Paul Vaughton, his first test match. Kiwis penalised again.
The game, we're not retiring 5 metres, and there's still a great deal of pressure. This is a typical test atmosphere, which when the game is close, and it's certainly a chance for Cronin on the 10-metre mark inside the New Zealand half, right in centre field. No wind. I don't think he'll make too much mistake on this one, but we'll get to see too much flowing movement. With the result is we're still getting the players hugging the 5-metre line of the margin of offside play. It'll break eventually. It looks like it's going to be a very close type of test. And those that have given 15 points in should feel a little bit worried at the moment, because there's not too much, although Australia territorial at least have come out in the first quarter, just about the 17 minutes gone, slightly better than New Zealand. But defensive-wise, I think both sides have rocked each other hard indeed, and only a couple of times have we seen 1 or 2 flowing movements. In particular, Cronin has made the clean break that should have been 1 try for Australia. But as it is, the Kiwis still waiting for this Cronin kick.
So again, Mike Cronin with the chance to even the scores. A long way out, but it's straight in front. See if there's 1 flag up and 1 down. I don't think there'd be any doubt about that one. Both flags up. New Zealand 2, Australia 2. The man kicking the points, Mike Cronin, who holds the world record for 405 points in a single season and 54 points in 1 test. That was against Great Britain in '79. He holds a couple of other world records as well. So 2-all. Deep in and Brendel up straight away to take it. Tamati and West the tackler. Brent Lindop having a close look at those tackles to see that nobody's held unnecessarily once caught. Fred Arcoy, the tackler, and he looks injured. Arcoy tackling Cronin. I think Arcoy is injured. I think he was injured in the tackle, which may be a severe loss for the Kiwis if he has to go off. There's Boyd stepping out of a tackle. Borton trying to go through, caught by Kevin Tamati.
It's an ankle injury from Arcoy. He's receiving attention now.
A little run there from Wally Lewis. The man that's the new star of Australian Rugby League. And Australia now in a good attacking position. Cronin trying to go through. 15 metres inside the Kiwis' territory. Cronin almost getting away with a break there.
Good cover, I thought, Tony, by New Zealand then. They really marked man for man. They adopted the second line of defence very, very fast indeed once they knew that Arcoy was in trouble.
Gordon Smith to feed the scrum. The penalty going to the Kiwis.
Very hard is Fred Lindop. He was like this in England, and straight away, the first one that strikes like that, it's a bit... Well, in England, really, it's a scramble, I suppose, and now he caught the Australian hooker, and straight away, Kulich was caught, the Australian captain, and there wasn't any doubt about it, but you've really got little chance, I suppose, of striking the ball without being caught.
Olsen Philippine making 20 metres. Kiwis up now with potential to attack. Nice little run through there. Fred Arcoy is back on the paddock, limping a little, as you can see there. He won't want to be in too much hard play for a little while. Mark Broadhurst getting the pass up. James Lulaway couldn't quite hold it. Dane O'Hara coming in there, but James Lulaway had knocked it forward.
So we've only had 1 clean scrum in the game. Incredible, really, with about the first quarter up and only 1 clean scrum. The rest have virtually been penalties. And look at that back line, how flat and shallow it is. Only about 10 metres between each centre.
So the Kiwis on the Australian 22 line now. And again, getting the advantage from the scrum. Mr. Lindop is being very hard on them. Mark Graham.
Well, here's a chance, not retiring 10 metres and caught straight away. A bad play, really, then, by the standoff. Well, then certainly gives Smith an easy one now. He's only about 10 metres to the left. The flags are fluttering a little bit high, which means the breeze is behind him.
It's almost the same distance and angle as the one he kicked early on in the game, the first 2 points, but on the other side of the paddock. So presumably he can kick it from here if he kicked it from the other side in a similar position.
Yes, he's a nice style kicker. I see Arcoy still getting medical attention too, just to the past the 22, but Smith, round-toed, has got the temperament more than anything else. He certainly hasn't got the distance.
Looking at Gordon Smith now. Flags are up. New Zealand go into the lead again. 4 points to 2. So nothing in it apart from the kicks. New Zealand leading Australia 4 points to 2. 18 minutes left in the first half.
Well, I think the surprise, Tony, with 18 minutes to go, is the fact that no one really has scored a try on a ground that's absolutely perfect, and a crowd of something like 14 to 15,000 here.
Looks like daylight here, so good are the lights. Kevin Tumity taking the ball. New Zealand will be looking to do something with it straight away.
Well, I've made it 15 penalties so far in the game, and it's quite incredible, really, but Mr. Lindop is still trying to force control in this match, and I wonder now if he's going to get it.
Several people said before the game, Des, that the referee, particularly being an English referee, would be a vital part of the game, and he certainly has proved that in this first half. Yes. Kevin Tumity. Howie Tumity. Mark Broadhurst. Howie Tumity. Arcoy looking like he's overcome the injury, putting Mark Graham into play. Graham's still going, steps out of one tackle into the second. Has looked dangerous every time he's had the ball. Perhaps the backing up hasn't been quite as good as it could have been, but they're getting there, the Kiwis. James Luluai. Howie Tumity. Spinning it wide. Graham West. Coming back, Gordon Smith. Looking, thought he saw a gap. Wasn't there. Caught by Rod Morris. Spinning it wide again, James Luluai. Nowhere to run, really. They're marking James Luluai very heavily here.
I think the whole picture now really is one of extreme close marking. It doesn't call for good rugby league now. You've got to endeavour to get your loose forward and half-back to start to run. It's now really an up-centre attack as far as New Zealand's concerned, and Australia. It obviously says now the tactic now is to play Australia at their own game.
Steve Mortimer waiting to feed the scrum. Penalty. Again going the Kiwis' way. Being a penalty from a scrum, a differential penalty. They can't have a shot at goal, of course. Olsen Filipina puts it out on the line. That's made another conservative kick, 10 metres. Howie Tumity will play it. Broadhurst. Ball coming back again. Bruce Gall. Has looked good when he's had the ball, Bruce Gall, so far. Kevin Tumity. Going it wide, Broadhurst. Howie Tumity. Mark Graham coming back inside. Nicely through Fred Arcoy to Graham West to Howie Tumity. Broadhurst again. New Zealand looking to spin it. Fred Arcoy with a little chip up. Who's going to get there? I think that was accidental, but it was certainly dangerous and certainly deserved the penalty. Greg Brentnell coming through. Mark Graham just stuck out an arm. Have a look at it again. I think it was certainly accidental, but Graham just stuck out an arm as Brentnell went through. It certainly deserves a penalty.
Yes, well, I would think that the way it's been going, there's very head high at the moment and one or two loose arms both sides, and there was a professional, Mark Graham. He had already shouldered his way through there. He'd also seen a New Zealander blocked partially too when trying to move through from Arcoy's up and under. And everything's professional out there tonight too, and obviously that sometimes the arm flies a little bit high. The Kiwis were trying to move it for the first time a little bit intelligently, getting West to try and drag them and getting them wide out to come up and going back in and returning it back in toward the forwards, which have to now take on control of the game. It's obviously New Zealand's men up front that's going to do the damage here with the back so close.
Brentnall for the line. Good long kick. Is it going to find the line though? New Zealand had possession. The kick didn't go out. Howie Tamati has the ball.
It went out, Tony, but the referee saw the linesman, and obviously a New Zealand player had touched it with his hand and deflected, and let's have a look. He's obviously gone back to 10 metres. So New Zealand are really contesting what the linesman has done, and finally it is a tap for Australia.
So the linesman ruling that the ball did go out. Australia now will be looking at an attack only just across the halfway line on the right of your picture. Craig Young feeding it back. There's Boyd on the ground. Australia will be looking to spin it quick hands. Now that was interesting. That was Mike Cronin. And right up on him very, very quickly was Olsen Filipina. Gary Prome holding on to Rebo. There's better tackling than we've seen for a long time in the Kiwi side, Des.
Yes, I'm looking at Fred Arcoy. He's not good at all. He's a passenger, Fred Arcoy. I think he might come off, and New Zealand caught again up in front of 5 metres. But Arcoy is really out of the game.
Has tried to avoid play. Obviously, that ankle is giving him some bother. Wonder how long it'll be before Fred Arcoy does come off. The replacement back is John Whittaker, in which case I think they'd have to have a complete rearrangement of the back line.
I think Filipina would go in, Tony, a standoff. And John Whittaker come out as the centres.
So Australia here, almost up to the 22-metre line. Morris laying it back. Mortimer spinning it on very quickly there indeed, and the combination again, the centre combination. Cronin getting the pass away. Rogers out there. Rogers caught, but still getting the pass away. Craig Young. Young still running. Eventually caught by Dan O'Hara. The Australians being allowed to get the pass away in the tackle, which is going to cost New Zealand a lot if they allow it to continue. That's Borton fumbling the ball. Fred Arcoy up on him. Brentnall. Hard bustling tackling, and the Australians in fact have gone backwards from that move while holding possession. They made no ground at all. In fact, they lost about 5 or 10 metres. Spinning it out again, the Australians. Cronin trying to put in Rogers. That's Les Boyd. Held by Filipina.
Well, that's a good illustration, really, of just how strong New Zealand's defensive pattern is now. It's right up to test standard. They matched Australia all the way. We've had it once across and back again, and Australia finish up inside their own half and lost 8 metres. That's fine defensive play by New Zealand.
Turning into an interesting game. New Zealand leading Australia 4-2. Less than 10 minutes left in the first half.
Incredible, Tony, to think that at this stage of the game we've yet to have one clean. Well, we've had one clean scrum. The rest have been just straight out infringement. Neither front row prepared to bend. Everyone fighting for the loose head, dropping the loose arm. Each hooker overstriking, and so if New Zealand had a good line kicker, we could be well inside their half. We just don't seem to gain more than about 10 or 12 metres in these line kicks at Filipinos.
That's a little bit better. They've gained about 15 metres from that. Howie Tamati up to play it. Olsen Filipina being a little more adventurous in the line kicks. Kevin Tamati. Howie Tamati. Broadhurst. Broadhurst well caught by Wally Lewis. Graham West getting the pass away to Gall. Nice combination between these two. When it fires, Smith spinning it out. Broadhurst. Broadhurst pushing off the tackler, getting caught by the second one. And not being released in the tackle, as a result of which New Zealand have got the penalty, and it may be kickable from there.
Oh, very kickable here, just past the 22. I thought Rod Morris a bit unfortunate there. I thought Lindop was too hard on him. He was on his back passing, and Howie really was trying to push him a bit further. With the result is he landed on his back, and we see this movement here now when Howie's waving out to his left there, indicating obviously it's going to go to the right, but instead watch his actions. He pushes now, and Morris goes back on his back and just grabbed then Broadhurst by the jersey, which was I thought a bit unfortunate really to get the penalty, and certainly kickable because it's just past the 22 in centre.
Certainly seemed a bit harsh, Des. Fred Lidnoff has been looking very closely at all the tackles to make sure that nobody's holding on longer than when the tackle has been called. So Gordon Smith now, it's a fairly easy one, and both flags are up, so New Zealand go further into the lead through Gordon Smith. What a game he's having. New Zealand 6, Australia 2.
Well, it's quite incredible, really, but the test isn't a good one. It's just a battle, really, of tight forward play. And it's one which I think this crowd are being a little bit shocked to see the cream, the Australians, they say that's their best side, are being matched by New Zealand.
They've been matched, in fact, in every facet of the game. Gary Kemble, what he loves to do, take the high ball and run hard. Howie Tamati. Couple of runs. May come out from this one, Broadhurst. Big Graham West in there. Howie Tamati. Spinning it wide again this time. They'll try and get it out. Quick hands. James Luluai away with a little yard to move. Dane O'Hara. Well covered out there. Two second rowers. Rowan Hancock and Les Boyd up on him quickly. Broadhurst. Gets the pass away. Olsen Filipina. Good running from Olsen. Still going. And there's a demonstration, a graphic demonstration for you of how hard Olsen Filipina is to tackle. Kiwis looking to pass it some more. James Luluai. Starting to look as though they can get a pass away in the tackle. They didn't make a lot of ground overall in that move, but at least starting to look like they can get a pass away while in the tackle, which is what the Australians have done from the start.
Beginning to break a little bit, Tony, of the game now. There's only 7 minutes to go before half-time, and in a tight game like this, often the last 10 minutes exciting.
Gordon Smith with a little run. Mark Graham out there. Graham was well covered. Wally Lewis up on him very, very quickly indeed. He didn't really have enough space to get the pass away and saw that quickly. Bruce Gall. Arkoi still not back in the game properly. He's opting to flick it on very quickly when he gets it. Broadhurst getting the pass back. Kevin Tamati gets the pass out to West. Nicely done. West very, very nearly ran Bruce Gall into position then. Broadhurst again looking to get that pass away. Opts to take the tackle and hold the ball. A little bit of irritation coming into the tackles. Mark Graham. Graham West with a yard to move. Has he got support? He has. Howie Tamati was up there.
Oh, it went the wrong way, actually. And New Zealand had them. New Zealand actually had Australia gone. And for the first time, a man is lying flat on his back on Australia on the 10-metre mark, which you can't see at the moment. But that's one time when New Zealand split Australia. And for the first time, there you can see the Australian player lying down. It's the first time I've seen Australia hang off. It's been a physical game, and they hung off the New Zealand attack, and the result was that the New Zealanders made great ground, and Campbell was the man that was unmarked that should have, whether the call, I don't know, it's too hard for us to tell up here with the noise, but whether or not it was the right call. Looks like Wally Lewis is the man that's...
Steve Mortimer.
Steve Mortimer, the halfback. I didn't see the incident, Tony, did you?
No, I didn't see it. It was off our picture. I don't really know what happened there, but certainly he's been flattened. It was interesting there, Des, that how quickly Gary Kemble came up into that line and was in a position to break through there when the gap was made.
Yes, as I say, the game can break like this when it's so hard and physical, and everyone's feeling it out there. There'll be a few sore bodies tonight in Brisbane. And Australia lay off. That's the first time they have. They were getting a little bit deeper in their back line. New Zealand have still hugged the marginal lines throughout this game. But Australia started to wane a little bit, and it had to come. The drive was there. Just a pity, I suppose, that either the call didn't get to the New Zealand player that Kemble may not have called. Actually, I would say that that Australian player doesn't know whether it is Saturday night here or not. He's not too good at all. He's very, very dopey, and he's one of the stars, Steve Mortimer. It looks like he's coming off by the Masura, which will be a sad blow because he and Lewis really combined so well for the Australians.
Steve Mortimer really doesn't know where he is. The reserve back is Mal Meninga, so how they'll rearrange the back line will be interesting to see if Meninga comes on. Mal Meninga, the star of the interstate match between Queensland and New South Wales. A lot of people in Queensland felt he should have been in the test side in the first place. Well, now's his chance. If, in fact, Mortimer does come on. Australia looking to run it up. Les Boyd. And again, Fred Lindop right up there, very close to look at that tackle and make sure nobody's being held unnecessarily. Boyd takes the tackle. Mortimer starting to come round a little. He still doesn't really know where he is. Greg Brendel up on the line. Well caught by Fred Arcoy, who's nursing an ankle injury, but it's not stopping him tackling. O'Hara back there, gets it away to Kemble. Kemble running hard. How many can he run round? Going well, Gary Kemble. 3-on-1 tackle in the end. Howie Tamati. Graham. West. That looked a little dangerous. Over the top from Les Boyd on Graham West.
He's been caught. He's been caught for it.
And the referee making the signal that's unmistakable. That's what the penalty's for. So Les Boyd again costing Australia a penalty.
I wonder, Tony, how many are squaring things up out there. There's a lot of professional tactics going on in this game.
Here it is again. Yes, it was definitely dangerous and quite unnecessary. Les Boyd on Graham West. Meanwhile, Olsen Filipina has kicked for the line. Up on it again, the Kiwis, 6 tackles in hand. Loose goal. Steve Mortimer is still off for Australia, still on the sideline. They haven't put a replacement on yet. Broadhurst getting it away. Gordon Smith steps out of a tackle, steps out of 2, and caught by the 3rd. What a game Gordon Smith is having. Kevin Tamati still looking as he was on the ground on his back to get that pass up. Howie Tamati. Now here's Mortimer coming back on the paddock. Gordon Smith upended. Howie Tamati. Mark Broadhurst. Running in Bruce Gall. Gall's going backwards.
Well, you can't see it on the screen. John Rebo, the winger that's on our side here, is virtually well offside and occasionally waves his hand to the ref indicating he's not taking any part of the game. But he's really adopting a dangerous stance, Rebo, way out on this wing here, and he hugs the offside play a lot.
Not a conventional winger, John Rebo. Tends to rove a lot and pick up work wherever he can. Mortimer into the game again. A good little run. Back eventually to Vaughton. Terry Bose said it was, who came in and made the jinking little run there, stepping out of the tackle or 2. Craig Young now. Graham West holding on to him on the ground. Mortimer back in the game and back playing well. Brentnell. Bosted up, hanging on the outside of him. Bosted. Mortimer.
So New Zealand player again way out in the centres, offside, but they're playing tactics. The style of play has changed in the test game, and through it, of course, everyone having to turn back. There is the flair, and only in the last 5 or 10 minutes have we seen it. It certainly hasn't been a good spectator's test game. It's a bruising affair out there. And only 2 minutes to go before half-time.
So Australia now up near the 22-metre line in Kiwis territory. Steve Mortimer running it round, little dummy, and back into Les Boyd. Boyd held by Graham.
The man's hurt, I think. I'm not sure. The referee stopped in a hurry then. No, he's indicated he's all right.
It was a hard punishing tackle. Now that going to cost Australia all the ground they made.
Could be an indication, Tony, the pressure that Australia now are under. New Zealand, the underdogs, and on top at this stage, 6-2, and have taken everything that's been thrown at them and thrown a bit back at Australia, and there's nothing in this game at all. Australia
all week in training have certainly looked confident to the extent of being cocky. One wonders if they underestimated this New Zealand opposition.
Well, Smith's been penalised, and obviously every half to just about puts them. The scrum's 2-1. That's the only clean scrums in this game, 3, and I think there's at least 22-odd penalties.
Ollie Lewis putting it back. So the Australians up on attack now in the 22-metre line. Rod Morris caught by Broadhurst, but they're starting to look like they're going to do something here. Australia, a little switch, and the chip up from Steve Mortimer, who's under it. Greg Brentnell's got it.
Oh, lucky for New Zealand, offside. Ruled offside. That was a break that the crowd unhappy. But Lindop made no hesitation.
He seemed quite sure of it. It looked like it might have gone either way. Very little time left now in the first half. New Zealand leading Australia 6-2. Let's have another look at it. There's Greg Brentnell getting very, very high indeed, and that's why he was once picked as a potential Australian rules star. And that is the score at half-time as they go off the paddock. New Zealand, surprisingly, to all here, I'm sure, leading Australia by 6 points to 2. And Des, I'm sure there wouldn't have been a person in the crowd here that have picked that score at half-time.
No, I wouldn't have. But the fact that the game's resolved on the penalty kicks, it's been an even match, you might say, a bruising affair right from the very start. When one Australian went down with a hard tackle, it settled into a forward battle, and New Zealand have the players up front. And I always thought once we had the great test back, and we've had some very, very good ones back in 71, when you think of Henry Tardiner, Grilletich and company, those great players that we have had, it's made the difference. And I would say today that's just what's gone on there. The fact that Gordon Smith, the man that kicked New Zealand to victory in the second test in Brisbane, has again clicked for the side, means how fortunate it has. The one break for Australia in the 13th minute, Nick Cronin threw an Olsen Filipano tackle, should have been in a try, and you might say the key was returned with only about 8 minutes to go before full time when they made the break and Campbell flashed through on the outside. It went the wrong way, and the forward pass, we were penalised for it. Apart from that, you might say the penalties are almost 25 penalties, and they're 13-12 in favour of New Zealand. The amazing factor, of course, is the scrums, 3 clean ones only. Fred Lindop, the English referee, has controlled the game throughout. He's determined that he'll catch every man inside the 5 metres. He's blown up for any minor factor at all. He's prepared to waive those that are way out past the sort of centre point of the field here. And as I said to you earlier, we've seen Rebo, the winger, on this side being offside but allowed to stay like that because he was in no way interfering with the play. The New Zealand pack now, well, they've gone in at half-time, are very, very happy indeed. I think Australia have got to lift their game. Are they going to change their tactics or not? I noticed their back line getting a little bit deeper when they started to have enough of the Kiwis' hard driving forward play. They started to wait for New Zealand at the very latter stages of this half, and that was a good sign to me that New Zealand, if they can weather this opening 10 minutes straight after half-time, well, shock of shocks, they could win this particular test against the Australian side. And a turn for home leading 6-2, a tremendous effort by a Kiwi side, which most of us here, in particular, and I would say Mark Graham this morning, was very confident indeed that they could pull it off.
We'll be back in about 10 minutes. New Zealand leading Australia at half-time, 6 points to 2. No tries scored in the game, all the points coming from kicks.
And our commentators at Lang Park in Brisbane were Tony Palmer and Des White. We'll be returning there very shortly, and it's very obvious from this distance that the addition to the New Zealand pack of Mark Broadhurst and Mark Graham has made the world of difference. It's a very bruising encounter, but New Zealand ahead by 4 points, 6 points to 2. It's perhaps just a pity that the two Sorensens, Dane and Kurt, couldn't be in that Kiwi pack as well. But nevertheless, Bruce Gall, Graham West, the Tamati cousins, doing a marvellous job for the Kiwis. Can they hold it now for another 40 minutes and pull off one of the great league upsets in recent history? Lang Park in Brisbane, no tries scored, a very bruising first half, but one in which the Kiwis have emerged from with a great amount of credit. Let's go back and take a look at the early stages of the match with commentators Tony Palmer and Des White.
The New Zealand side really keyed up for this match. Australia with a kick-off. It's going to be hard tackling straight away.
I did think so there. The boys indicated it was going to be on right from the start, and I imagine it is really going to be on too. We've had a few explosions and scrum tests that have started, the very first one that goes down. And Aussie, obviously their forwards want to get into the New Zealand front row. It's pretty a tough one in there. Kevin Tarmley and Mark Broadhurst are pretty good fighters, so this could be a pretty good test.
Gary Campbell puts the ball up the line, and they made good ground from it. Australia coming back. Brentnall running in Bowstead. Bowstead's got nowhere to go. Broadhurst the tackler.
Well, it's very obvious here that Mr. Lindop, like he was in the second test in England, and New Zealand won, he's going to blow this game up and make sure everyone retires 5 metres.
So Greg Brentnall, Canterbury Bankstown, with a good line kick. A man who's very, very safe under a high ball, and a good line kicker as well. So Australia wanting to get into it quickly. Very hard tackling indeed from Kevin Tamati. Wasn't the safest tackle in the world, but it was effective. New Zealand get possession as a result. They're looking to run it. Bruce Gall's hands letting him down.
And that man hasn't moved, Tony. Rowan Hancock has not moved. And as indicated, it's always in a test game like this. You can go back to some of these great matches we've seen there. Some of the New Zealanders that have been involved.
It was Kevin Tamati straight up with his shoulder and bowling him over. They said they were going to get right up on them and tackle very, very hard right from the start. It's the way the Kiwis can get into the match. Howie Tamati, Broadhurst coming through, and there's a little bit of aggro on there already. Paul Vorton it was, having a look at Kevin Tamati.
Well, it's a testing time here, and Lindop as a referee is a very strong one, and no doubt gradually it'll settle down. I give it 10 minutes here, and there'll be a few punches thrown. They'll sort each other out. They're both tough packs, and New Zealand want to control it up front.
So already New Zealand getting up on Australia, giving them nothing. Greg Brentnall for the line. That's made him a good 15, 16 metres. For Australia now. Rowan Hancock has gone off, I think. Can't quite see him in the picture, but I think Rowan Hancock has gone off. Check that for you in a moment. Coming back already, the Kiwis up there tackling hard, and the Australians don't like it at all.
Well, there was Craig Young then, and if you can see number 13, you might recall, Auckland is there, what happened to him at Carlisle Park when he was laid out. So Rowan Hancock, I'm sure, came staggering back after receiving quite a bit of medical attention, but the referee is having a talk at the moment to the New Zealand captain, who's naturally been called up, and of course you can see the shape up. That's Craig Young, 13, and obviously the fullback now will kick for touch.
And the man having the shape up there with him, Bruce Gore, playing his first test for New Zealand. A man that they're expecting to become a star in Australia. Very, very strong, hard player.
Action from the first bruising few minutes of the test at Lang Park in Brisbane. New Zealand ahead at half-time by 6 points to 2. 3 penalty goals from Gordon Smith, 1 from Mick Cronin for Australia. No tries, but the job is really in front of the Kiwis in the second half. The question is whether or not they have the fitness, I think, to last the next 40 minutes. Remember, they're playing a team of hardened professionals. New Zealand essentially part-time players, although with the 4 Sydney-based players making all the difference in the team. Let's go back now to our commentators, Tony Palmer and Des White.
Welcome back to Lang Park in Brisbane, where the Kiwis are leading Australia 6-2. No tries scored in the match. It's been a very hard, physical, bruising affair up until now. And if you look at it that way, really the Kiwis have been the better side when it's come to the hard, tough stuff and tight running up the middle. Haven't seen a lot of the ball being thrown around yet, but the New Zealand defence has been excellent. We wondered if Fred Arcoy might not be back on, but he is on with his ankle heavily strapped. Australia running it up. They were booed as they came back by their own crowd here. Paul Vorton. Krilic playing the dummy half game. That's Les Boyd, still going. Eventually taken by Mark Graham and Graham West. Been some very hard tackling in the game right from the start. Australia looking like they might want to run it a little more. We thought the centre combination of Cronin and Rogers, one of the two may have been replaced by Mal Meninga, the reserve. But Cronin and Rogers still both on there. We may see a change in the Australian side as the game goes on if they're not making the penetration that they want.
It's a good start, New Zealand, Tony. There they've contained Australia from the kick-off right inside their own half, in between the half and quarter line, and I agree with you. I thought that Fred Akwe would go off at half-time, but he's not. And New Zealand now, obviously, sometimes we're slow to start, the Kiwis. Again, that close marking's going on.
Differential penalty going to the Kiwis from the scrum. Quickly playing it, Gordon Smith. Looking for a fend there on Steve Mortimer. Howie Tamati spinning it out. Kevin Tamati, Mark Broadhurst. A missed ball there. Olsen Filipina couldn't pick it up. Eventually Gary Prome saves it. Would hope it's not the start of untidy handling from the Kiwis. Bruce Gall. Fred Akwe putting in Graham West, getting the pass away. Gary Kemble up on the line very quickly. Howie Tamati. Broadhurst waiting. Gordon Smith. Smith looking to get that pass away, but opted to take the tackle eventually. Wally Lewis, the tackler.
There was a feeling, too, by some of the Australian broadcasters that Mal Meninga, the great centre that played for Queensland last week, may come on, and Steve Rogers, another great centre, may be taken off in the second half.
Australia don't seem to be getting the penetration that they would have expected in the centres. Gordon Smith salvaging that. New Zealand ball, 6 tackles in hand. Up just outside the 22-metre line, Bruce Gall. Tackled by his opposite number, Les Boyd and Rod Morris. Mark Broadhurst, Howie Tamati waiting. That's the 22-metre line you can see. Kevin Tamati. Australian defence tightening up a bit. Bruce Gall.
Here's a chance for this 5-metre rule still goes on in this game by Lindop. He's prepared to wave that hand at everybody. And another chance for Smith.
The 5-metre infringement has been the source of most of the penalties in the game, and we've had an extraordinary number of penalties.
17 New Zealand and 12 to Australia. That's incredible when you think that's 29 penalties and we've only had 4 scrums in the game. Not good football, certainly not too much of it today.
5 minutes gone, second half. New Zealand leading Australia 6 points to 2.
New Zealand can kick this one. It's often been said if you can score in the opening 10 minutes of the third quarter, when it's really on, it gives a tremendous morale boost to the side. And if Smith can kick this one, he's probably unaware of the vitalness of this kick, the morale that it could give to the side by this kick, and they would go into an 8-2 lead. That important 5-point breakaway. New Zealand could come home here.
Flags are both up. New Zealand goes further into the lead, 8 points to 2, leading Australia. 5.5 minutes gone, second half. Fred Akwe still limping a little on his ankle, quite heavily strapped. So Australia to restart. What an interesting game this has turned out to be. It's been very tight indeed. Still not a try scored.
And notice, Tony, how now Cronin's decided to kick very deep.
Gary Kemble again running it up, running hard. Kevin Tamati. Howie Tamati. The tackles on Kevin Tamati he's been very closely marked throughout the game. Perhaps the man they should be looking more closely at is Bruce Gall. Kevin Tamati again. Played it himself. Still making ground, Kevin Tamati. 6 tackles up.
So it's a forward battle now, really, up front. The New Zealand back line just simply flat and shallow, almost on a par with Mark Graham at the base of the scrum. Very nearly offside as James Lulawhite outside centre. Here's Smith underneath his feet, says the referee, Lindop, and away go the penalty count again.
Australia restarting. Wally Lewis. Tried to whip it around there, didn't really go anywhere, but they've still got possession in Australia. 5 tackles. That's Max Krilich with the ball. Spinning it out. Cronin. And getting the pass away, still in the tackle. John Rebo. He's a dangerous man on attack. John Rebo looking to jig in and out all over the place. Dane O'Hara finally ties him up. But Australia's starting to look a little more lively now. Up on the New Zealand 22-metre line. Running it wide, Cronin. Back inside, Les Boyd. They've got to stop him. Morton. Outside him. Bretnell couldn't pick it up. They've lost possession.
New Zealand ruled offside there, and very fortunate indeed. A tremendous burst by Australia and some great play. Rebo really was the man that initiated it, but the standoff there, and he's in all sorts of problems. That's Wally Lewis, firstly Mortimer, and Lewis has been on the ground for about 2 minutes.
Yes, I noticed they run the play right through there, right past Wally Lewis while he was lying on the ground. But John Rebo, the winger, number 2 for Australia, 27-year-old from Manly, 6'1" and 14 stone 7. And an extremely fast runner, very, very hard to catch. He jinks in and out, as you saw just then. Had his test debut against France in '81. That's Wally Lewis. It looks like it's his nose that he's hit.
Big kick for Cronin. He's on the 22, but he's on the right side for a right footer. A very important kick, this one.
Australia with a chance to get back at least some of that leeway at the moment, and that's an attempt for John Rebo, trying to set it up out there, or was it Kerry Bowstead? Was the idea of it. Bruce Gall. It didn't work for Australia. Very nearly lost by New Zealand in the little fumble. Howie Tamati. Mark Graham. Tamati spins it on. Fred Arcoy flicks it on very quickly. Gordon Smith.
Very dangerous tactics, New Zealand, throwing it way back like that.
Fred Arcoy is certainly still not right. Mark Broadhurst. Arcoy, every time he gets the ball, is just flicking it on. Tamati. Again, marking Kevin Tamati very hard. West flicks it back. Bruce Gall.
It wasn't good play by New Zealand there. From the 6th tackle, they went and threw it back and very deep. They ended up going the 22, going back to their goal line, and that's not good play by the Kiwis.
Starting to look like they're flagging just slightly. It's been a very, very hard first half indeed. What will tell from now to the end of the game is who's the fitter side, because it's been so hard. It hasn't been open running football, but it's been very demanding physically. Now that was a penalty against the hooker, the striking against Max Krilich.
So
against Howie Tamati, sorry.
This was a loose arm. He dropped the arm then. 5 penalties in the opening 10 minutes.
Australia making 10 metres with Bretnell's line kick. Steve Mortimer flicking it back to Bretnell. Bretnell decides to hold on to it. Rebo was outside him. It's Rebo. Gary Prome anxious to make sure that he gets his man in John Rebo. So Australia with a chance here, right up on attack. Steve Mortimer puts in Les Boyd. Boyd can't quite make the line. They're not far away, just metres away. That's the line right there. Australia trying to go in again. Lewis. Wally Lewis, can he get through there? Still going. Almost able to get the pass away. Held on Mark Graham had his feet.
I see we've lost our satellite feed, and perhaps for Kiwi supporters it might be a good time for us to lose our satellite feed, with Wally Lewis looking very promising in that situation. We hope that we can get our satellite feed from Lang Park in Brisbane back very shortly indeed, but still the Kiwis hanging on. Another goal from Gordon Smith has taken the Kiwis out to an 8-2 lead, and New Zealand with the advantage over Australia at the moment. The question is, can they hold on? We hope to have that feedback from Lang Park in Brisbane very shortly. We have lost the pictures from Brisbane, but hopefully they will be restored in just a moment. The situation is that New Zealand lead by 8-2. Don't forget, at 10:15 tonight we have World Cup soccer here on this channel on Television 2, and that's through until about 11:15, and then at 12:30 on Television 1 it's live from Wimbledon, the ladies singles final between Chris Evert-Lloyd and Martina Navratilova, the number 1 and number 2 seeds. We've got the pictures back from Brisbane. Let's go back.
Well, this penalty count really is killing the game in a sense, but it's saving New Zealand too, because Australia really are trying to apply great pressure now in this 10 minutes that's just gone, and they're down by that vital 6 points.
Olsen Filipina with a line kick. That stopped them 10 metres. A conservative one again, but making sure that it went out. 6 tackles in hand. Let's see what they can do with it, the Kiwis. Broadhurst. Howie Tamati waiting. West. Graham West and Bruce Gall as a combination started to work for a little while in the first half. Bruce Gall. And Gary Campbell away with a break. How fast can he get up there, Gary Campbell? He's got support in Gordon Smith. Smith still going. Back to Campbell. Can't hold on to the ball. And Gary Frome salvages possession. What a superb break from Gary Campbell.
Quite superb there. Even Dana O'Hara flew across on that far side. It was just unfortunate, I thought, for New Zealand there that it was coming in such a tremendous speed burst by the lot of them that I think no one was calling. But Australia were just to no more hanging on by the skin of their teeth. And again, an Australian player hurt. And they've certainly suffered the injuries today in this bruising game. It hasn't been the Kiwis today that's come off second best, but the Australians.
It was an excellent break. Looking like they could slice up the middle there very quickly, and Gordon Smith up on it and picking up the ball, backing up beautifully. Just couldn't keep a hold of the pass. I'm just told here that you and New Zealand may have lost pictures for a little while. We apologise for that. Not sure what the story was, but I understand you're back with us now. Let's have a look at that break again. Gary Campbell it was with that initial burst of speed. He flicked it back over his head to Gordon Smith, who got up there very quickly. There's Smith up there. Smith running beautifully, flicked it back over his head to Gary Campbell, but Campbell couldn't pick it up, and it was Gary Frome that got in there and salvaged the possession for them.
Well, it's just been really on then while we're looking at the replay, and there's been a real scuffle in the front row. They've decided to set 2, and the end result is that New Zealand have got a penalty. It's not a kickable one, but it broke up after the penalty was awarded. So New Zealand very, very close to the line.
So New Zealand up on attack now. Howie Tamati gives it back to Kevin Tamati. Two cousins have had an excellent game for New Zealand tonight. Bruce Gall. Gall looking strong when he runs. Howie Tamati waiting. Decides to take it himself. Mark Graham up there, almost with a gap. Making good yardage now, 2 or 3 metres out from the Australian line. Up on attack, New Zealand. Fred Arcoy can't really run on an ankle still. Well tackled by Wally Lewis. Olsen Filipina. Gordon Smith back to Broadhurst. Howie Tamati. Little dummy there by Gordon Smith, which almost got them in a gap. Mark Graham coming up, but was held.
That particular phase there from New Zealand, Smith should have accelerated there. When they're so close, everyone hugging each other, virtually on top of each other like that, the halfback's got to run, and he didn't. Paused, then unloaded. He could have accelerated. He had a gap.
These front rows, both very, very hard front rows. That's going to come back, New Zealand ball. Gordon Smith's away. What a game Gordon Smith is having, Des.
Oh, tremendous game for New Zealand, like Bruce Gall.
Olsen Filipina trying to bust his way up the middle. Again, they're still up on attack. It's only 5 metres away from the Australian line. The Kiwis playing good football here. Broadhurst turned around, looked to get the pass away, but was held. well wrapped up. Something the Australians have perhaps done a little better than the Kiwis. Kevin Tamati gets it back, and West hops back onto it. So they've still got possession. And Arcoy again with that limp, just flicking the ball on. Bruce Gore up into the fray. And Gore loses the ball back, but Gordon Smith was up there and regained it, and the referee has waved it on, so 6 tackles in hand again for New Zealand. Mark Graham. This is a real chance for them. Graham almost getting right up to the line there, eventually held by Vaughton. Howie Tamati, Fred Arcoy flicking it on, Olsen Filipina. Mark Broadhurst. I think the tackle on Olsen Filipina from Rowan Hancock. Hancock came off second best. Fred Arcoy with a little chip up. Wally Lewis stealing it off West. Nicely done. So Australia with a chance to get themselves out of trouble here. Bruce Gore putting Greg Brentnell down hard. That's Rebo. The tackle was a little high from Howie Tamati, but he's got away with it. Mortimer spinning it out. Cronin. Can Cronin get through there? Gary Frome picks him up quickly. It was a hard tackle on Cronin from Gary Frome.
Just began to break up a little bit then, Tony, just a little. I thought we had a chance as well. We were a bit slow in getting our second phase attack underway. Then Australia too, but the tackling is very severe out there.
New Zealand, I don't think anybody would question. New Zealand has had the better of the second half so far.
There you can see the New Zealand back line, how really flat it is. They're conceding that they're going to turn it into forward driving play.
Fred Arcoy still nursing that injury. I wonder if in the end result that will cost them anything.
Well, I suppose you saw that clearly, how he had to be penalised, Mortimer. There wasn't any doubt about it there. The front row had slightly pushed, and there's no question about that one.
Steve Mortimer is still arguing the point.
And already we've had 10 penalties in the second half in about 18 minutes gone.
So Howie Tamati. Crowd not appreciating most of the stoppages. Bruce Gore. Kevin Tamati. Howie Tamati. Ball putting it back. Arcoy flicking it on straight away. And Olsen Filipina coming across. Australia taking possession, and that little episode there costing the Kiwis a penalty. Howie Tamati, the offender. So the line kick now from Brentnell.
Unbeknownst, Rohan Hancock has gone off, and Muggleton must have come on, the attorney. Number 10 just walked off. He's obviously been replaced.
Rohan Hancock, I think, suffering from some of the knocks he had earlier on in the game. So Australia now looking again to run themselves out of trouble, up to the halfway line. 14 is Muggleton. The replacement for Rohan Hancock. Steve Mortimer. Australia really anxious to get into this game and to run it a little. They haven't been allowed to run it anywhere. Being flicked on. Wally Lewis doubling around there. Olsen Filipina takes him down.
No, he's caught New Zealand again way out here, and Kevin Tamati is the man that he caught. And Kevin out there playing an outside centres, which is not good to see a forward way out there. And there's a chance for Cronin to bridge that gap and get Australia within striking distance now of New Zealand, because it's about midway half and 22 and slightly to the right of the centre of the field. So distance no problem to Cronin, but New Zealand must be careful now. I can see Mark Graham also having a word there with some of his players and telling them to get back and stay out of trouble, particularly way out in those centres positions. And almost the first quarter up 2, and we've had 2, 4, 6, 11 scrums, and we've had 2 penalties. So that'll give you some idea. Very little football really in the third quarter, with New Zealand still in that commanding position.
So again, Australia looking to Michael Cronin to get them back in the game. And the flags are up. So the scoreline narrowed now. New Zealand leading Australia 8 points to 4. By the clock up here, 18 minutes remaining in the game. It'll be interesting now to see which is the fittest side, and if New Zealand can hold on to that lead they have. They've played superbly in the first part of the second half.
Well, it's really boiled down to the last quarter to decide this first test.
Kick back there, that's Paul Vorton. Running into Kevin Tamati and Graham West. Australia looking to spin it on. A little fumble there, but still getting the pass away. Wally Lewis. That's Rebo. Rebo is the man they've got to watch on the wing. Nice little cross pass there. And it was Cronin, and that's Rogers. Cronin, who set it up initially for Rogers, the centre combination. Australia now with the tails up. Steve Mortimer slipping, getting the pass back now. Boyd whips it out to Brentnall, and there's Rebo on the wing. Almost split the Kiwis up the middle. That combination again that has been much criticised of Steve Rogers and Mike Cronin. Cronin running Steve Rogers in beautifully.
And the man that conceded that one was Mark Graham. He went off, bumped a couple of players there, and he hooked one. If you watch number 8 now, there it goes. He's going to be penalised for it. That short one that you may have just seen going in, and Graham has hit Rebo, the New Zealand captain.
Trying to soften up John Rebo, who really has been the danger man of the Australian attack. The centre combination of Cronin and Rogers working well, but Rebo is the man who's given them the most trouble when he's had the ball and an inch to move. So Mike Cronin now, again with a chance to narrow the gap. This is within his kicking range. In fact, virtually anywhere on the paddock is within his kicking range. The New Zealanders can ill afford to give away penalties in their own half with a man like Cronin to kick for Australia.
A similar kick like this, he didn't do well at all. It went right across the other side to Boosted here on this wing. Now he may have judged the breeze slightly better. It's in his favour. And he's around about a 45-metre kick. It's a pretty big one.
Watch the flags and the crowd will tell you. The flags are both up. So Australia narrows the gap again through Michael Cronin. New Zealand leading Australia now by just 2 points.
Well,
16 minutes left in the game.
What can you really say about Mick Cronin? He has been the worry for New Zealand for some seasons now, and here he is, the veteran, with time slowly ticking away. 2 points in this game, not a try scored. Only 2 real breaks, one to New Zealand and one to Australia.
See now if the Kiwis can contain Australia in their own half again. Australia want to run it, they want to flick it round, and again the similar sort of move. Wally Lewis running into position beautifully, and he's outrun several of them. Good change of direction there, putting Wally Lewis into a little gap, and that's where the Australians have looked dangerous. Paul Rebo. Paul Vorton. Australia again looking to spin it out and run it wide. Greg Brentnall up in the line. Dane O'Hara getting a lucky break and gaining possession for the Kiwis. See if they can do the same. Mark Graham.
And Fred Arcoy's gone. He's well and truly out of it. So New Zealand lucky with the ball. Arcoy's out of this game, really. He's going off.
Kevin Tamati. So Fred Arcoy going off. John Whittaker will be the replacement that we expect. Broadhurst. Still going strong. Gordon Smith holding on to possession. New Zealand trying to get out of their own half here. West looking to get the pass away. And the crowd now chanting. You may be able to hear them. What they're saying is, we want Mel Meninga they're talking about, the big Queensland centre that Queensland people here, I'm sure, would love to see on the paddock in place of either Steve Rogers or Mick Cronin. But those two, Cronin and Rogers, have been superb when they've combined.
Yes, they're adopting a very strong attacking role. New Zealand a little bit tighter now, and they're allowing some gaps to appear amongst the three quarters. Australia finishing better. At the moment, New Zealand, a man short, I think, has Whittaker on. Yes, he's on as inside centre.
So Olsen Filipino will move in. John Whittaker, the replacement for Fred Arcoy. John Whittaker, who's been playing Test football for 13 years. Bruce Gore. Had a good game, Bruce Gore.
He's caught Australia. Here's a chance for New Zealand this time, and he certainly hasn't let up, Lindhoff. You must say consistency has been part of his game. The 5 metres he stayed with, and the clock's ticking away for a New Zealand win, maybe. It's only 13 minutes and 46 seconds to go, and we didn't go for a shot at goal. Well, that's not good play by New Zealand. There we are on the 10-metre mark in error in the defending half. That's the Australian half, and we can't have a shot at goal.
West. Howie Tamati waiting. Chance here for New Zealand if they can get up on it quickly enough. Kevin Tamati. "15 metres out now from the Australian line. See if they can use all the tackles. Broadhurst doubling round with Howie Tamati. Tamati losing the ball forward. So Australia gaining possession as a result. A let off for them. Steve Mortimer. Wally Lewis, who's been in everything. Rod Morris flicking it on to Craig Young. Hard tackle there on Max Krulich from Olsen Filipino. One wonders how much this backline change is going to affect New Zealand. Greg Brentnell up there. Got the pass back again. Cronin still going. Eventually Graham West coming in to help Gary Prome to wrap up Cronin so that he didn't get the pass away. Lewis with the kick up. That might be a little test there. Gary Campbell safe under it. Decide to spin it. Dane O'Hara. New Zealand showing some confidence. Whittaker. Dane O'Hara. Head down and arm up over his head as he ran into the tackle. Howie Tamati. Broadhurst. Broadhurst, who's been the workhorse.
Well, this test is really poised now, and we're down to the last 11 minutes in this game. A try hasn't yet to be scored, and New Zealand favoured heavily in the penalties as far as that goes, and have won the scrums 4-1. There's only 5 clean scrums. The rest really have just been penalties. And New Zealand inside their own half. The loose arms dropped by Australia. Their captain, he's fought for it, and there's an easement for New Zealand. And another penalty be given because the Australians didn't retire 10 metres. So the penalty count mounts for New Zealand in this half. They had 15 in the first, and they're getting close to that again in the second. What an incredible test this has been.
They're almost on the halfway line now. Olsen Filipino. See how much distance he makes with that kick. He's gone out and he's made a good 20 metres. Olsen Filipino trying to fire up some of the rest of the players. Graham West. Howie Tamati. Kevin Tamati. Held by Vaughton and Boyd. Howie Tamati waiting. Gordon Smith's back there. Switches it to Mark Graham. Graham looking good. Nicely running in Bruce Gore. Bruce Gore may have lost possession there. Certainly it went forward. Advantage will be played. Australia have possession now. Right in their own quarter. Wally Lewis swinging the ball up. So being well tackled, the Australians. Kevin Tamati up there quickly. Kerry Bowstead. Flicking it out wide. Muggleton. Mike Cronin couldn't pick it up there and push the ball down, with Australia still with possession. Wally Lewis. They're not really making much ground at all. Bretnall was up there with men outside him, but the tackling's been good.
9 minutes to go. 9 minutes to go on this test, and can New Zealand just hold them as they are, inside the 22 or inside the Australian half? Really, with Cronin, the ace kicker, he could square this test, or we're going to see what it did in England, a drawn test. The Kiwis have led throughout this game.
Steve Mortimer to feed the scrum, Australian ball. The referee, Fred Lindop, is not happy with that feed.
Hard to imagine, Tony, that the Australian side have only won one scrum in this test clean, and New Zealand backline is nearly being ruled offside here.
So Australian ball again. That time Steve Mortimer running it out. Vorton caught by Filipina. Filipina quickly up on Vorton. Steve Mortimer. Flick it out. Wally Lewis. There's Boyd. Australia again having trouble making any distance at all. A little bit of holding going on in that tackle. John Rebo in there. Again, the man that looks dangerous every time he gets the ball, Rebo. Rod Morris back there to tighten it up, but certainly Rebo looks the danger man in the Australian backline. Grilich. Loose pass there. Gary Prome might get to it first. He does. So the Kiwis in possession with 6 tackles and on attack. Gary Prome going well. Good hard running there. Right up almost to the 22-metre line in Australian territory. James Luluai. Had a very quiet game, James Luluai. Bruce Gall. Gordon Smith. Smith going on his own. Howie Tamati up there. West. Is he going to put it back? Broadhurst. Can't make any ground. They seem to have narrowed their options in terms of tactics a little bit, the Kiwis.
And there's 6 minutes, 50 seconds to go now. And New Zealand really playing professional, tidy-up work here. Not prepared to spin it. Don't want to see it floating all over the place. They want to win this test. They've got that 2-point advantage inside Australia's 22. They're going to sit there and try and contain them. And that's true professional stuff. Forget about football now. Just knock them over. And once again, it's a scrum infringement. And off he goes. Steve Mortimer is being sent off for chipping Fred Lindop. He's taking a walk. So the Queensland crowd here are far from happy, and he obviously chipped him. He's mouthed the referee. They've had a long discussion about what's been going on up front, and so here is now New Zealand with a far better chance with only 12 players, and he had been given a warning earlier, Steve Mortimer.
Yes, we saw earlier on that he was given a warning for back-chatting the referee, and obviously he said too much on that occasion, so Australia at a big disadvantage now. 1 player short. The Kiwis up on attack. 5 tackles in hand. Kevin Tamati trying to bust his way through. Only a couple of metres short of the line now. Howie Tamati waiting. Gordon Smith looking for a way through there, trying to barge his way right up the middle. Gordon Smith having a superb game. Kevin Tamati looked to get the pass up to Mark Graham, who would have been in there, I feel. Howie Tamati, Mark Graham. Graham looking to get in himself. Running out of tackles. Gary Kemble with a little chip, and I think he was obstructed. And the linesman is coming over. I'm sure Gary Kemble was obstructed.
No, he's allowed it to go. 5 minutes left in the test.
So they're letting it go back to the 22-metre line now. New Zealand leading Australia by just 2 points.
He's worn protest for throwing it, a short one there, and so Australia could get inside New Zealand's territory now. This could be a whirlwind finish.
Greg Brednall with the line kick, but it's gone out. Gary Kemble was there trying to keep it in, but Australia will be up and quickly wanting to start again. Krilic. Rod Morris. Can the Kiwi defence hold them out? Certainly they've had the better of the game thus far. Vorton going on his own. Nowhere to go. Well held by Graham West. Krilic.
4 minutes to go.
New Zealand defence has been rock solid. Craig Young flicking it on and flicking it out. Cronin in there. And Brednall's in a gap.
An Australian player is out cold. So they're down to 11 men, Australia. The standoff.
Just metres short of the line now. Can they get across to salvage a little pride from Australia? Rod Morris. Well held up. They can't get through that defence. Last tackle. Mark Graham was playing a little professional tactics there, trying to run in the Australians. Are they going to get in there with John Muggleton? Can't get it down. And they've given the try. It's on the scoreboard for all to see. And the crowd here go wild as Australia have salvaged some pride in the dying minutes of the game. Australia has salvaged just a little bit of pride. 9 points to 8 if they can kick it. They'll be in. I don't know how much injury time there is, but there's only a couple of minutes left on the clock.
Well, it's a replacement player, Haggleston, that scored the try. John Muggleton, I should say, is the man that scored the try.
Just have a look at it, Des, as he gets through there. He only just got his hand onto the ball on the ground. If you have a look, he's reaching through a couple of players to do it in the tackle. John Muggleton was a determined effort, and have a look as he goes across the line. You can't see it from that angle, but he had his hand down there, through a couple of other players, and it's quite kickable for Mike Cronin.
So the test has been won. There isn't any doubt about that. 2 minutes and 14 seconds left in the test, and Australia have salvaged it. They lead 9-8. The kick is of no importance now for Mick Cronin, and New Zealand, which had hung out so well, and they'll be a very, very disappointed team tonight to feel that the test, which has been theirs for almost throughout the entire game, in the last dying stages, to see it with only 3 minutes left on the clock for a replacement to come on and score. Quite a great effort by the New Zealand side, without any doubt. The 15 points well astray by the betting public here as Cronin lines it up.
Flags are both up. So it certainly looks at this stage, with only minutes remaining, as though Australia have salvaged some pride and won the test in the dying moments. 11-8, they lead New Zealand now. And can New Zealand come back with that kind of play? They must be tired players out there now. Gordon Smith to restart.
1 minute, 16 seconds left.
Little kick up there. Australia now.
1 minute to go.
That'll be a very, very frustrated Kiwi side out there after having led the match for most of the match. The only try of the match being scored by John Muggleton, the replacement forward. Australia wanting to slow things down just a little now. New Zealand has stolen possession. They've got possession now. Up on the halfway line, into the territory. Bruce Gall.
Seconds to go.
James Luluai, nowhere to go. Too many markers out there. 4 tackles left, New Zealand. Broadhurst. That's the end of the match. The hooter is sounding. And the crowd invading the pitch. The end of the match, Australia just salvaging for themselves with the only try of the match to John Muggleton, the replacement forward. And the final score, 11-8. Australia beating New Zealand after New Zealand had led the match for most of the way. And I don't know what you think, but I think that's against the run of play.
Well, a tremendous fight for New Zealand, I thought. They were classified as certainly needing miracles to try and win this test, and the fact that it took right up to the last 3 minutes for Australia to click and to finally score a try, which was a really struggled effort type of try too. The play, I think, and the tactics of Coach Tess Mountford has to be applauded. The inclusion of the 4 Sydney players that came up have lifted the side. You couldn't really recall the same team that played against Queensland and were beaten by a very wide score, 31-16 today, to come out and be leading 8-6 with only 3 minutes left to go and to find a replacement forward to score the try, as I say, which certainly wasn't a clean try. Australia had its moment. They weren't too often, and nor did New Zealand. Both had their, well, I should say that both decided to make sure that the play was going to be tight, because back play by New Zealand was virtually negative, and we hardly saw anything really coming out. Bad luck that Fred Arcoy had to leave the field, but really I don't think it made too much difference. The penalty count favoured the Kiwis, 26-18. The scrums their way 4-2. On that basis, you could say in a game as tough and as bruising as this, when New Zealand had their opportunities. But it was a tough, hard fight up front, and certainly we expected to be on in the opening quarter. The New Zealand led 6-2 and then 8-2. I thought they had it in that 5th minute of the second half when Smith kicked the penalty. They should have won this test. It wasn't to be, because they got their chances in that second test. In the latter stages, you might say too, they tried the professional tie-up game by just becoming orthodox and stereo and finishing the match out. It wasn't to be. Back came Australia. They had to do everything. The critics would be unhappy with this side if they didn't beat the underdogs New Zealand, and it's turned out just right in the end for the Queensland crowd. A great comeback by New Zealand, and a hard, tough game. Not a good test, I wouldn't say, but one of the exciting ones that we've seen at Brisbane.
So what sort of test are we going to see for the second test in Sydney? We'll have to wait and see.